Hello, welcome back to the channel. First, let me open the 3D file that we're working on. All right, so today we're gonna be continue working on this building. We're gonna probably finalize it, at least streaming wise. This is the last time I'm gonna stream about it as in working in progress. Today I'm gonna show you a little bit how to UV unwrap a couple of things. I'm gonna show you how I set up my grease pencil for it to look in the final render. But first, because the channel has gained like a boost in followers in the past 2 days, maybe like 50 new followers that came through different channels. But I want to reiterate on the idea of this channel. So this is basically my attempt to encourage others or to show how I'm following my curiosity, how I'm following the things that I love. It's a different narrative than the one that's like I've been used to, like the one either the hustle movement where you have to work 24/7 to achieve what you want to do. And like everything has to be quantified, everything has to have an outcome, like planning, like creativity is different. And this is a channel where I want to make it clear that following your creativity is not the same thing as following like your productive or your family or your health. Or creativity has its own different set of rules. It can be the way you live. It can be just something that you do on the side for 1 hour daily. It can be something that you like dedicate your whole life for. It doesn't have to feed you. It can, if you can, that's perfect. It's just a different way of looking at it. And I call these creative explorations because this is just, and I'm like encourage anyone to do that. Just follow what you love. It can be 3D, it can be 2D, it can be like music, rapping, painting, dancing, like fixing cars. Like creativity can be something that is not related to the arts. It can be gardening, it can be like, I don't know, fashion, of course, related to the art. It can be in like places where you feel like you're making things. So creativity is about making. And this is the whole point of this channel. So if you're following me, like, and you saw my Blender videos, or you follow me because you follow me somewhere else and you want to support me, that's amazing. I really appreciate it. The whole point, and this is what you can see also on my Patreon, this is why my Patreon is for free. I just want to encourage this sense of curiosity. Like following your passion is overdue and it's not practical, and actually it is a bit, it sets you back because what is my passion? What do I love? All of this stuff are things that are hard to answer. And when you're just starting, it's you don't want to start by like holding the biggest baggage ever. You want to start light, you want to start moving, you want to start like learning and getting excited and getting happy, getting results. And to do that, you have to follow just the things that you are curious about. It doesn't have to be something that you really know what you're doing, but you know that if you do it, you're gonna enjoy it. It's usually like, you know these stuff, you know them in you, you've been doing them since you're young, you know, like it doesn't have to be something that you're gonna be doing forever. It can be something that like you're gonna test and maybe you figure out that you're not gonna like, then you're gonna test something else. So this channel is that me documenting this part of me, this part of my journey where sometimes you see me doing like 2D art, sometimes you see me doing like 3D art. It doesn't really matter. It's about a bigger picture, a picture of like engaging with your creativity through these explorations. All right, hopefully that's clear introduction. I'm gonna keep doing it every couple of streams. For the technical part, if you're following me because of 3D stuff, this building will be posted maybe by tomorrow, maybe by the weekend on my Patreon. It's gonna be for free, you can grab it. It's part of a bigger project. I talked about it previously. I'm gonna pick the other asset that I'm gonna be working on, maybe on like the next stream that I'm gonna do. And it's gonna be for free. That's the most important part. The paying membership is for support only, at least for the next couple of months. So hopefully these what I'm doing here will encourage you to do the same. You don't have to share it. If you can, that would be amazing. So share with me in the comments below or on my threads or like anywhere you already follow me. Just share with me about how are you doing like this journey of finding your creative self if you want. All right, so let's jump in. First things, the preferences. You go to the interface because this is a 4K screen and it's not actually 4K. It's a small screen with 4K resolution. So everything is too small on it. Scale down. So first things, I push the interface very down. I like I scale the interface up, sorry. By the way, this is the clumsiest channel you're gonna follow. I don't know how to talk. I'm not that interesting. I don't know what I'm doing. So hopefully you're gonna enjoy it. This is it. We're learning as we go. So let me show you first. I'm doing this with something called the live unwrap. The live unwrap has to be set up in two different places. It has to be set up in the UV editor. So if you go to the let me show you. So if you are in the 3D viewer, you first go to the UV editor, and then you go to UVs and you turn on the live editor, and then you have to do it somewhere in here. Let me see. It should be. Yeah, it should be here. The options. In the options, there is a live unwrap. So it has to be turned on both in the 3D viewport and in the UV editor. And what this does is that whenever you start picking edges, you can right click and mark seam, and it will automatically update here. I think this object is done. So I've done off stream this one, and the curtains I've done them in previous streams. I've done these as well. So I'm gonna pick up something easy to start with. I'm gonna start with the balcony. So why do we unwrap? We unwrap because we don't want to see stretching like this on the texture, because imagine this as a tile, the simplest way, and imagine this as 60 by 60 tile. If you're gonna map it on this balcony, it's gonna be stretched. And on this face, you're not gonna see any of your texture because maybe this collapsed to something. I mean, you can see this just by going to edit mode, number 3 to go to the polygon, press A, and you'll see that the whole UV space, which is what we call as UV space, is technically the 3D turned into 2D faces. And the whole thing is just this, while the 3D is this, which doesn't make sense. Imagine this as you're taking the 3D object and you're unfolding it, cutting it, wrapping it, so it becomes like a fabric or like a texture where you can paint on, or like a canvas. So for this to work, the simplest way to do is just to right click, press U, and then press unwrap. And you'll see that it looks super weird. You see different things right now. Like you see how the tiles are all bent and like going crazy. And this is because we need to mark where our seams are. So when you mark your seam, you technically define to Blender where you want the cuts to be. Now, first of all, the easiest way to think about the seams is just like maybe where the material are different. So for me, I have like a concrete material, and then I have like a paint material. So this is like a natural seam, even though sometimes you might want to overlap between them and paint between them. But if you're painting by hand, you don't really care about the seams because you're gonna paint over them. And if you're doing procedural stuff, there are like some tri-planar projections right now, or projection of textures or stuff like this, where also you can bypass that. But anyways, let me show you if I wanna think about this. So the way to think about it is, instead of thinking of this as boxes, you have to think about it as cylinders. So instead of me saying like this is one face, and then this is one face, and then start to cutting it like this, it's gonna be a lot of unnecessary work. Instead, I can say like this box, think of it as if like the packaging. I can say like this can be like all of this can be just one face folded, and then you're gonna unfold it. Anyways, let's start by the clear stuff first. Let me go back to this view. I think I want to remove the texture. I want to go back to material because it's a bit distracting. The texture will show you the texture in the shader editor. If you go here to shader editor, you just add any texture. You don't have to connect it to anything. I just select it, and then if you go to texture here in the preview, it's gonna show you what the texture gonna look like. Okay. Anyways, go back to material. So for me, like, okay, so it's clear that we want a seam right in here, because this is the difference between the two texture, and this is like a very natural edge. So that's, you know what, let's see if you can just loop it, Shift Alt and click, and yeah, you can just press U, and you know what, I want to show you how the live thing works. That's important. So you see that this is what we selected. If you press U or just right click and mark seam, you see that it's already like cut these two objects from each other, but it's still looking weird. It's still looking like so no, it still look organic. So the second natural cut could be in here. So let's take this with this, with this, and let's here, and let's take it to the back. Right, that's perfectly fine. There should be a mark seam here, yeah. So as you can see, we already got this, which is this face here. We got this sorted out. Now in here, this is not normal, because if you see the texture here, now because the texture is too big, I think it's working, but sometimes this will cause some stretching, but it doesn't really matter in my case, because this is gonna be just some dark crevice or like something broken in the ceiling just for the lamps. Alright, so I don't really care about it. Now to think about this, I think this should have wrapped properly. I'm not sure why it didn't yet. Oh, okay, so this didn't wrap properly, even though like technically you can just take all of these faces and just open them up, and you're gonna have like one planar face, and you see it in here. The thing is, we're still having these arcing is because Blender doesn't know how to deal with this knob in here. Let me go back to material, it's clearer. So it doesn't know what to do with this. So how does this fit in, like, even if you think about it in real life, if you want to take this and wrap it apart, what should we do with that face? And we can say like remove it completely and treat it all by itself, which is fine. Or you can think about it, if it can be saved somehow. I think I'm gonna just make it simple and easy. It's all geometric shapes. So let's and mark the seam. And this is still not 100% soft. So we still have these faces. So if you Q link, so we still have these faces not really working. And that shouldn't be the case. Or probably it is like this because it's not actually linear. It is. Just let me make sure that what I'm saying makes sense. All right. So okay, I got it. So the issue is like these, the ones that are going like this, these small ones that like the edges, the 90 degrees. It still doesn't know how to deal with that. Let me see if I just mark a seam in here. Like now, if you cut this and you open it, it makes a better packaging if you want. And this, the same thing. And mark seam. And it's almost there. It is almost there. I think this is it, probably. Let me delete these faces, we're not gonna need them. Let's check all the vertices, if everything's fine. Let's merge by distance. Now we don't have anything. So what's happening in here? I have 1, 2. So let me see what's. So if we just simplify it for now, let me mark a seam in here, and let me mark a seam in here. I just want to see what's happening with each face separately. So it worked just fine. This is that small face is for what's happening in here. And of course, like this is treating it as a box. If I do clear seam, it blends again, and if I do here clear seam, it, let me see, Control L G, so all right, it's acting weird. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. Instead of doing this, I'm gonna clear this seam. I don't want to do that. I don't want to have a lot of these seams. I'm gonna clear that seam, and instead I'm gonna separate the whole thing here. You clear this seam, mark this seam, sorry. I'm not quite sure what's happening in here. And why is this being considered as part of this thing? I'm not sure, because we already said that we want a seam in here. Right, so let's see. So this is behaving weirdly, actually. It should be split. Okay, so I think this is one of the issues. It goes in here. 1, 2, 3, you mark as a seam. And let's take this one out, you mark it as a seam. And now we have this as a clean face, and then we have these two as two faces that are attached to it. Right, great. Now we have, that's fine. Let me show you in textures. So as you can see, this is working just fine. There's an issue with scale, because what Blender tries to do whenever it tries to unwrap, it tries to scale as much as possible, but in the end, there are ways to fix that scale eventually. All right, let me go back to materials and let's mark our seams for this one. It's gonna be a bit complicated here because the faces are kind of like merging. So let's mark a seam in here. We already start to see what's happening. And we forgot to mark a seam in here. And we already have a lot of things fixed. We can pick this one out. You can mark a seam here. And then what we can do is we can pick these two like this. We can mark this as a seam. We're almost done. Still have a few things to fix. And the way you want your UVs to work depends very much about how you're planning to use them. And you have to be very careful on how these are oriented. Like this is taking very big space. This is barely seen. You have to make sure that the scales are working. I'll show you how we'll fix that in a bit. We don't need a seam in here actually. I don't know why this flipped like this. Must be a mistake in selection. You clear that seam. And yeah, that's fine. I think this is fine. I want to just solve this because that's somewhere, it should be somewhere in here. Right, that's somewhere in here. And it's collapsing in itself in a weird way, so let's just select this, and you mark this as a seam. And let's do the same thing from the inside, actually. Let's mark that as a seam, and then we need to cut somewhere here so that cylinder, when you cut it, you can fold it, right? We can specify the edge somewhere here. Just need to see where my mouse is. You know what? Let's go to Alt Z. Let's press this period so we can focus on this view. Mark adhesive, and you can see this. This is what happened now. This whole thing inside turned just into a flat face, and this is what we want. Flatter, the better. Now, this is behaving weirdly, and we'll see why in a minute. Okay, so we have these faces, Ctrl L. So this is fine. Let's hide them. We have these faces. Let's hide them. We have this. This is all of these are separate UV islands. So if you select linked by UVs, you can actually select the island instead of just the seams. So all of this is one UV island. You can hide it. All of this, Control L, you can hide this. This is one UV island. Supposedly, you can hide this. And then these two guys are by themselves. And these two, which I don't think this is the best way to do it, but who cares for now. So we end up with this face. And if you go into textures, you see that this is not wrapping properly. Now there are different ways to solve this, and that's probably because of how it was modeled. I think Blender is suffering into making sense of all of this. Now, of course, I think if we just I'm just wanna do a check. If we mark a seam here, that would solve a lot of things, because then it doesn't have to understand how these edges are flowing. And if you mark the seam here, that will also fix all of this. And I think you know what? Let's not waste so much time on this. Let's do Alt H to bring everything back. So let me show you how to package all of these things. You just press A, go to UV. There's an average island scale in here, which technically scales everything to be proportionally equal. So whatever the textile density in this islands are equal to the proportions of it. Like this is a small face, this is a small face. These are proportional to the sizes in 3D, but it does it in a way where everything gets overlapped. Then, if you press N, there is something called Magic UV, and this is actually a add-on that comes with that ships with Blender. I'm gonna press Alt Shift. This changed the language, and then Magic. And this is Magic UV. You can turn it on. One of the Magic UVs tool in the UV manipulation is called Pack UVs. If you can just click it, it will show you what this happens. And like this is let me allow it to rotate. So it can sometimes it's not allowed to rotate if you want like your UVs to be rotated in a certain way. Let's say you're using a wood texture and you want the veins to like you already worked on the rotation of these islands, so the veins are done in a certain way. You can increase the margin a bit. This is too much. Let's do something like 0.01 because they are overlapping. This is also still a lot. Allowable center deviation. These are on the Y, and let me see. Let's read it if you can. So these are the different ways you can manipulate this. There's still one that comes with Blender, which is Pack UVs. Where is it? Pack Islands. This is different than the one that we're using right now. Let's see what's the difference. So this is allowed to scale. We say, you know, exact shape. It can, like, you'll specify if you wanted to take the bounding box. So assuming this is the bounding box. So it will mark this as something that you cannot put anything within it. Usually the pack UVs pack things inside and then rescale everything to gain more, like, because now you have all of this as lost pixels. So let's say this is 1K by 1K in terms of pixels. You have probably 30% of it plus this, maybe more unused. This is just white pixels or whatever black pixels that are wasting your memory. So let's do the pack UVs. So let's say you can rotate. The margins can be not the pack UVs. It should be pack islands. So exact shape. Let's not scale. You can rotate any method. Let's say any method, whatever. And that's okay. See what will happen. So it didn't change much actually. It didn't do anything. It usually, let me see if I done this manually. Of course, there are add-ons where you can actually does these things much more efficiently actually. So you don't have to do it by yourself or by hand. I haven't learned them yet, or I haven't used them yet, but they exist. So whenever you do the pack again, you're gonna lose your location. So you have to be very careful. If you like already fixed your UVs in a certain way and you already placed them properly, this will gonna rearrange things for you. Okay. So what happens if we say a low deviation on X and Y? Let's see. Nothing much. Let's say if we allow the size deviation on X and Y. So technically we said that you are allowed to scale things. And it is calculating. Hopefully we didn't lose this progress. I'm not sure if I saved actually. Hey Dylan, how are you? Yeah, we just lost it. So I allowed some properties and I think that broke it. Okay. Yay. We brought it back. I don't know what's happening actually. Yeah, I'm not sure if this size deviation thing that that I marked is actually what's doing this. All right, we're back. So you know what? Let's remove this. We don't need it. So this is fine. This is how it looks. Let's save. So this is how UV now looks because we did this average island scale. Now you can see that it's scaled properly on all of these. Yep. Like you can either install some add-ons. Look at add-ons where you can gain back these islands that let me above my face, where you can pack in a better, more optimized way. Sometimes it's not possible, but sometimes you can. Like I'm pretty sure that if we pack stuff inside here, probably we can get a better like approach. But it's like this add-on, the Magic UV, usually like usually it does the job properly. So let's do one more object. Let's do this. So it's just a simple box. It has interior and exterior. Let's first put it back in material. Tab A U unwrap. Not smart. Unwrap. And of course, it's gonna do a horrible job because it doesn't have any seam. So if you go back to, we're in edit mode, if you select the objects, so the simplest way to mark a seam here is just the top because it's hidden. So you mark a seam and you start to see things starting to change. And this is because we have the live UV mapping on. So let's do the same thing for the bottom. Actually, we can delete these faces because they're not gonna show at all. I'm probably gonna do this. And in here, you just want one cut and cuts around the windows. So let me show you what I mean. So this is very simple. This is easier than the balcony. So if you just cut around the balconies, you see it's already updating. Cut around the doors, just select Shift Alt and you mark a seam, and we have another window in here. So the thing is, the unwrap is trying to take everything into consideration, and then you mark seams just to tell it where it should cut. Here, that's one by mistake. So what's happening right now is, think of this as having like a cylinder. So this is a box that's closed in all four corners. We just need one cut for this to work, and we have to define where that cut to be. I think probably in here is fine. It doesn't really matter actually. It's just a corner. So let's mark the seam, and you'll see that this thing just flattened everything. So now we have this box and just unraveled, you know. And the same thing can be done for the interior. So let's go for edges. What time is it? It's fine. So let's pick again the windows, the doors, these guys, you mark seam, and just one corner, it doesn't matter which one. And this is almost done now. These are the inside of the windows and the doors. So also these are rings. So these are rings without any cuts. So you just have to define one cut. They are hidden by windows, so it doesn't really matter. Just you and mark a seam, and this is one window. And then the same thing in here, you and mark a seam. This is the other window. I'm gonna delete these guys. So Control L by UVs. So just X, delete those faces, and select these faces, Control L, X, and delete those faces. And again, all we wanna do is select everything, press A, go to UV, average island scale, and then let's do back islands. Let's allow to rotate, scale, margins, whatever. We don't want to rotate like this. Let's go for this one. So pack UVs. So allow the deviation. Let's zero all of this out. And let's say we don't want to rotate. So, okay. So what's happening is, if you do this or you do this, this is the most optimized way in terms of this type of UV to pack it. And this is the most optimized way for this UV. It's not the most optimized. You want me to go a bit slower? I was trying to go fast because I don't know, I think like I might be boring some people. So what's happening here is like all of this exterior shell is just one face, and this is a waste actually, because like if you want to do like this as a texture, again, if this is 1K by 1K, you're technically using probably 200 pixel by 1000 pixel, and all of this is lost. So a better way, since we have corners, is to unpack it a bit more so we can get bigger faces to paint on, or whatever, to texture or whatever. So you mark this as seam. So the cons of doing this now is that you have more seams, but these are boxes and you already have like very sharp angles, so it's okay. It's not the best way to do it usually, but you have to consider, Sparky, you have to consider each situation by itself. So, you know what, let's cut all the corners. This, let's view mark seams. And now you can see we're using the whole island. Let me see if I did I mark something for the door? No, so let's mark a seam for the door. And now if you just go to textures, you see that everything is done like evenly. There's a bit of stretch vertically. I'm not sure if this will fix it. Average island scale. Nope. And let's do another back. Nothing is happening, so okay, it's fine. It's okay. Let's move it a bit. Let's scale it down because this is like bordering the edge of the texture. Let's keep some margins. And that's this. Let's do one more and then I'm gonna show you how we do the grease pencil object if you want, like at the end. I'm keeping this till the end because I tried it off stream and it lagged horribly, so let's pick something a bit more organic. I'm not sure if they still have some, like the shirts are easy. They just follow the normal cuts of the shirts, so like you have the one for the sleeve and the one just cut it into these faces. If you want, I can show you. No, let's do it. So let's do. So this is how it looks right now. Let's do just an unwrap, just to show you how it starts. All right, go to edges. So I didn't do this properly. So these are not modeled properly. These are not shirts where you have actually the seams located as like it should be here. Looking at this, the seam should be here. But who cares? Actually, I do. You know what? Let's not waste so much time on this. Let's try first to have the mid cut. Let's pick something in the middle first. This. 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 And this. So this is not accurate. This is not real. But what we can do is just let's mark the seams and it's almost done. If you want, like in the context of this project, it's fine. We don't need more than this because this is painted or procedurally generated. And go to the shader editor. All you have to do is to add an image texture. I have already one created, but if you haven't seen me doing this, it's just pressing new, and instead of blank, pick the UV grid one. Let's call it UV. Press OK. And because the rendering type is set to texture, just by selecting this texture, it's gonna preview in here, even though it's not connected to anything. Alright, so now because, as I said, this is not modeled properly, ideally I would have preferred to have a seam running like this, but I'm gonna let it go. So let's see what will the pack do. It shows the most optimized way probably, but I don't like it, so I think it packed them in a way where like it's using most of space, but it can be maybe hard to work with if you want to do like some Photoshop work on them, or I don't know. So let's try again and see if we rotate them, if this is gonna affect So if I enable rotate, it's gonna rotate them the way it wants. But for now, I'm gonna consider this as done. What next? What next? I think the rest is I'm gonna show you I did this in the last stream. Let me show you the unwrapping of the water tanks, and then we're gonna move on to the grease pencil. So let's go. All right, so this is how it looks. This is how it's packed, and it's simply, let me go here. So the red lines are the seams technically. So just a seam down here and a seam up here, and this is all of this. It's just wrapped itself around all of these. I know there are gonna be some distortions like in these faces, but it's not the end of the world, who cares? And then these are the cuts that we did. Like this is one island, this is another island, and then the top is one. And like I just created cuts where there are like very clear natural cuts, and then this is just a cylinder technically. All of this is just a cylinder. I can actually flatten this out, I guess. Let me try. So if I just let's see if we should do this or not. So it's a bit bent, and that's because it has these small faces in here. Where's my mouse? Yeah. So because it has these technically. So usually what they do is they pick, is it Sienna? They pick one face, they try to align it. So align auto. Let's see, maybe I have something else selected. So this edge, align horizontally. So let's do just scale. Okay, so okay. So the issue here is the I don't know, the pivot point. So let's do individual origins. Let's try again. Align auto, scale. All right, so I know what's the issue actually. The issue is that I have the sync selection. So it's selecting these edges and the edges from the other parts. So now what you do is reselect everything. And now it's a different interface in here, but it's fine. So let's pick, let's say this face, right click, align auto, right click, align auto. So what we're doing here is just recreating a perfect square that is, I don't know, parallel, perpendicular, whatever, all of this stuff. And then we select the whole thing and make sure that our face, the one that we just, which one was it? Was it this one? I think it was this one. Yeah, it was this one. Again, pick all the faces of this. Make sure that this is the active one, right click and follow active quotes. And it didn't work. Usually it does. It didn't work. I think it didn't work because it didn't know what to do with these. You know what, let's try it again. It's not working. For some reason it's not working. Usually it does. It solves all of this. Let me try this one. Alright, let's try again. So where's this? This is one of these, I think. It doesn't really matter. I just want to show you how to deal with it. So again, let's try again. So let's pick this, align auto. Then let's pick all the faces. Make sure this is the active face. Right click, follow active quads. This is what this should have done. It should have flattened everything according to the active face that you have selected. I'm not saying that this is what you should do for everything bent. It depends on the face. And I think clearly in here, let me see. Shift A, image texture. Let's pick the UVs. You can see that because this has this band, you can see this. You can see this going up. Show us, Sparky, what's happening? I want to try this again. We'll see. If it doesn't work, then there's something else that I need to know. So this one. So what's happening is it's aligning like locally. It's not aligning these. So probably what we should do is separate them and do each one separately and then like attach them back again. So align auto for this one, and then if you pick the whole thing in here, go back to this face, make it the active one, follow the active quads. As you can see, what's happening is it's aligning, because I think what's happening is that it doesn't know what to do with these, or maybe these are already like aligned fine, but it doesn't know how to deal with them. Else, what we can do is we can pick all of this, align auto, move it on the X, then pick these, align auto, move them also on the X. You know what, we can do this. We can do this, then this, then this, then this, then this. Right click, align auto, move on the X to the inside. It screwed up the whole thing in here. Then so this is the thing about unwrapping. It is a bit complicated sometimes. Okay, so what we should do now is align one of these, pick all the faces. This is the active quad, follow active quad, and now we're almost done with this one. Just about doing some minor fixes. Like, you don't have to go crazy on all of this stuff. Most of the time you don't need it. Like, I'm not gonna paint this in the end. It's gonna be probably procedurally generated. I'm just showing you a different way to do it. That's it. Okay, I'm not sure where this is actually as well. So let me think. This is maybe, this is somewhere inside, I guess. So if I do Shift H, yeah, this is inside. It doesn't really matter. Alt H, bring everything back. Like even, let's remove this. Let's pick everything. Take this and move it to the inside. Like even this face, which is technically this one, it doesn't matter. It's on the bottom, nobody gonna see it. Anyways, let's move on. So this is what I wanted to show you for the unwrap. The rest I'm gonna do off stream. I'm gonna unwrap it very quickly. Then, let's get out of this texture mode. So the grease pencil object only works in camera view. For this, usually what I do is I go to the view property and I say camera to viewport. Now it's working fine because we don't have a grease pencil object, but what I learned, something with that complexity, if you have a grease pencil object, it's gonna lag like crazy. So I prefer to do the camera the old-fashioned way, where you press Ctrl Alt 0 and then you pick your camera location. So pick your point of view, Ctrl Alt 0, and then you have this. Now what you want to do is press Shift A, go to Grease Pencil, and say you can say if you want to add it to a certain object, you want to add it to a certain collection, or you want to add it to the whole scene. I want to add it to the whole scene, and this is why it's going to become too heavy. But I did some renders from this yesterday and it looked super cool. Let's see it with some textures. Let's remove the wireframe. So that's the start. First of all, the line thickness is too big. So this is the Grease Pencil object. It will create an object in the scene collection called line art. If you go to the modifier of that object, you can see that the line thickness is too big. I think 8 worked fine yesterday. I even look at the wheels; they're too much. And opacity, I don't wanna like this much black. Even though you can change this in the material, but I'm changing it in the opacity. And then, if you go to the edge type, the crease threshold is like Grease Pencil trying to automatically add some lines where there are difference in faces angles. So here it's saying anything that's below 140 degrees is gonna get one of these creases. I usually make it less, but we'll see. Yeah, that's fine. And also at the material borders, so where you have different materials on the same object, I usually like to have some Grease Pencil objects. It's a bit laggy, it's a heavy file. So. And now if I want to rotate, you don't have the camera moving, so you'll see the Grease Pencil objects are still following the old camera view. So let's say you want a new camera view. Let's say we pick this point of view. I'm gonna zoom in a bit more. Control Alt and 0, and now it recalculated the Grease Pencil, and you can see that it doesn't go beyond the frame of the camera. And again, I'm gonna add more modifiers. These are modifiers specifically for Grease Pencil. I usually add the length, and what this does is just goes beyond the original length. Like you can see, it starts to extend itself. It's a bit too much, so I'm gonna do 0.05 probably. It's gonna take some time to recalculate, and then the same thing for. I do want this scribbly effect, so I'm fine. Sometimes what I also do is, I'm not sure I'm gonna do this for this project because it's too big. I'm just gonna reset my camera. I'm gonna show you the compositor, I'm gonna show you the rendering settings, and this is it for this project. Alright, so the two things that I usually do is I add a subdivision surface, or the subdivide modifier, so the Grease Pencil will have more points. And I will also add the noise, and then like just create some noise where the lines are a bit not that clean. And I'm gonna do this here. This is a background building. Again, it's gonna look something like this, so I don't really care. Now for the renderings, this is a cycles render. It's not gonna be an Eevee. It's gonna take some time because I'm streaming. Okay, so the GPU compute is on, the denoise, and the viewport, of course, I'm setting it to optics. And the render, the denoiser is the OpenImage AI. It's cleaner. I have transparent on for no reason, actually. And of course, in the color management, it's set to standard because I don't want any color corrections applied to it. I just want the pure color, because when you paint the textures, you don't want any interference. And I'm set to medium high contrast just because it looks better. And in the compositor, I have the Kuwahara filter. Maybe we can set it to 2. And in here, you can say you want it in the camera or disabled. I think I'm gonna keep it to the camera, not always. Let me save. And for this to look nice, it has to be high res image. So I have it around 4K pixels, just because anything below this is gonna look, it's not gonna show anything. So let me make a quick render. Also in the rendering, I set the time limit to 5 seconds, just because I want it to be fast. So what's gonna do when you're above 2K, it's gonna split the image into 2 images technically. It's gonna render the first 2K, then the second 2K. You can see it in here, and then it will apply the line art once it's done. And it doesn't look that good without the line art actually, because it needs some texturing. That's my face now. Till it renders. 1 second. Spark, come. Here. Come on. Up. Hi, Sparky. Say hi. Say hi. It should be faster, but we're rendering. Sparky. Hi, girl. So Sparky needs to eat and needs to go poopy and pee. And she gets very nervous when I'm streaming and talking to myself. She doesn't understand what's happening. Alright. Okay, now this is done. Alright, go. Watch. Go. So this is how it looks. It looks much better actually. I wanted to add some plants here, maybe here on the balcony. I wanted to add some bird cages. I wanted to do more stuff, but I don't think I'm gonna do any of this for this project. I just want to release it to my Patreon and move on to something else. Probably in the next building we'll have a bit more iteration, just because we have more assets ready. That's it. So in the next couple of days, this is gonna be live on my Patreon, ready to download. And I'm also gonna release one last video, just like I did for the scooter. I'm gonna explain how all of this, like maybe a 5-10 minutes video, just walking around the file if you want to download it. And this is it. Dylan, I love you, man. Thank you so much for everything that you did, especially with that threads post. It was amazing, man. Actually, I think because of that, we got around, is it here? Yeah, it's here. Let me show you before we close this stream. YouTube. Let me save this and close it. I want to show you the Dylan effect 2 days in a row before closing this stream. It's my pleasure, man. I want to do this for a living, even though the business and whatever. This brings much more pleasure. Just slow. Just want to show you the effect. We got 17 today, 16 yesterday, 9 hours 2 days in a row, and 250 today and 140 views yesterday. That's just because you did that nice initiative. Anyways, hope your day goes well. Hope you have a good day, and thank you very much. See you soon.